Prime Minister Modi to visit the vaccine facilities in Pune, Ahmedabad and Hyderabad today. He'll personally review the vaccine development and manufacturing process to also get a first-hand perspective of the preparations, the challenges and the roadmap in India's endeavour to vaccinate its citizens. Prime Minister Modi speaks on the phone with the British Prime Minister Boris Johnson. Both exchange thoughts about challenges posed by COVID-19 pandemic, review the cooperation between India and the UK in the area of vaccine development and manufacturing. Also discuss India-UK collaboration in climate change. Prime Minister speaks with Tamil Nadu Chief Minister E.K. Palanisamy to discuss the situation in the wake of cyclone Nivar. Prime Minister Modi expresses condolences on the loss of lives, announces ex-gratia of 2 lakh rupees for the kin of those who lost their lives and 50,000 rupees for those injured. Jammu and Kashmir witnesses the first election after Article 370 abrogation and reorganization. The first of the 8 phases of Maiden District Development Council polls for 43 seats with 260 candidates being held today. Economy regains the lost ground. The GDP growth in second quarter improves to minus 7.5% as economic stimulus under the Atmanirbhar Bharat package yields results. The chief economic advisor describes double-digit recovery in the GST collection as very encouraging. External Affairs Minister Dr. S Jaishankar visits Seychelles, conveys India's greetings to recently elected president there. Also meets the foreign minister, discusses important issues on bilateral cooperation. Iran points fingers at Israel after a top Iranian scientist killed in an ambush near Tehran. Iran vows to strike at the killers of Mohsen Fakhrizadeh, who was suspected by the West to be involved in a secret nuclear program. In sports news, England defeats South Africa by 5 wickets in the first T20 in Cape Town on the back of an unbeaten 86 by Johnny Bairstow and Sam Curran's bowling excellence. The visitors take the lead in the 3-match series. Hello and good morning. You're watching DD News with me, Nancy Kohli. Our top story. Well, India is a forerunner in the search for COVID-19 vaccine, with the ICMR, NIB and the Bharat BIOTECH indigenously developing the co-vaccine, and several other firms as well as institutes entering into tie-ups with the global vaccine developers. Prime Minister Modi is personally reviewing the vaccine development and the manufacturing process. And in the series, he is visiting 3 cities today, reaching first at the ZYDUS Biotech Park in Ahmedabad. Prime Minister Modi will first visit the ZYDUS Cadila Pharmaceuticals vaccine development facility near Ahmedabad. Now, indigenously developed vaccine by ZYDUS Cadila has completed phase 2 clinical trial in the country. And during the visit of these facilities, Prime Minister Modi will hold discussion with the scientists there that will help him get a first-hand perspective of the preparations, the challenges and the roadmap in India's endeavour to vaccinate its citizens. And let's now go across to our correspondent Shishir Shalar, who's joining us with more inputs from Ahmedabad. Shishir, good morning. Like we were discussing earlier also, how this 3-city visit, of course, beginning with Ahmedabad, is going to be so very important. Prime Minister Modi, they're leading from the front as far as, it's India's fight and the world's fight really against COVID-19 is concerned. Just take us through the significance of this visit and Prime Minister Modi personally reviewing the vaccine development process.
Well, absolutely, Nancy. Prime Minister has just reached Ahmedabad just a few minutes back. Now he'll be coming here at the ZYDUS Cadila facility, which is actually developing, the ZYDUS is actually developing their own vaccine, indigenous vaccine. The name of this vaccine is ZYDUS. Now, obviously, this vaccine that ZYDUS have started to work on this early this year, and what they're claiming that probably by next year, this vaccine will come into the market. This is a DNA-based vaccine, that probably a very rare kind of vaccine we can see in the India. The other vaccines are working on a different prototype, but the vaccine which ZYDUS Kerala is working is a DNA prototype vaccine they are working upon. And by next year, probably we may get to see that the vaccine will hit to the market. Now, obviously, how this vaccine will work, what are the important things are involved in it, these all things are quite important. That's the reason Prime Minister will be visiting the ZYDUS Kerala facility here. The officials of ZYDUS will be briefing Prime Minister also about how the manufacturing is going on. At the same time, Prime Minister earlier have said that when the vaccine will come and how the vaccine is going to become, how effective this will be, all these details will be given by the country's scientists, because scientists are actually working round the clock to find out the vaccine here, and that's the reason Prime Minister also stated that whenever the vaccine will come, then our duty is to provide this vaccine to everywhere in the country, to distribute this vaccine everywhere in the country. And that task is actually not an easy task, and that's the reason now all the focus, currently government and the state government, along in coordination with the state government, also is try to working upon that how we can distribute this vaccine in every village, in every block level. That's what the Prime Minister have said, and that's the reason a steering committee needs to be prepared here from the state side as well. The state will have to work upon that how they, once they receive the vaccine, how they can distribute this vaccine across all the villages in the country. And that's what, these are the important pointers, these are important technicalities that need to be worked upon. Now, when the Prime Minister are visiting this vaccine manufacturer, be it ZYDUS Kerala, Bharat BIOTECH or Serum Institute, these are leading vaccine manufacturer in the country right now. They're working on the COVID vaccine, and what these companies and this manufacturer have claimed so far is that by next year their vaccines will hit to the market, and that's why we call it as a very crucial stage at this point in time, because we have heard some of the big pharma companies across the globe, across the world have already said that their vaccine will come by next year. Even now, India is also have come into that picture, and probably we can say it's a very good example of Atmanirbhar Bharat. Prime Minister was always talking about how we have to be self-sufficient, and probably when it comes to fighting with the COVID now, we are actually becoming self-sufficient with this vaccine, this kind of indigenous vaccine. Once we'll develop, we can distribute this vaccine in our country, the way we want actually. And the most important factor, as I told you, that making a vaccine is one part, and the distributing of a vaccination is a different part. And that's what the government is now focusing on. The information that Prime Minister will be receiving from this vaccine manufacturer, Prime Minister will be discuss these issues with the scientists also going ahead, and probably we may get, we may make a roadmap ahead that how we can distribute this vaccine in a village level, and especially for those who are vulnerable population of our society, of a country.
Absolutely, it's a great example, Shishir, of Atmanirbhar Bharat, a self-reliant India. Prime Minister Modi, they're leading from the front as far as the COVID-19 vaccine development, the manufacturing process is concerned. It's important development not just for India but for the entire world as well. And like you're also rightly sharing with us, this indigenously developed vaccine by ZYDUS Kerala is in fact has completed phase 2 clinical trial in the country. So it's at a critical stage at this moment. And Prime Minister Modi, when he visits there, he's going to be interacting with the scientists. So in that context as well, the roadmap ahead becomes all the more very critical, keeping in mind the stage the vaccine is at right now in the country, and then Prime Minister Modi, they're taking stock of the development, interacting with the scientists. It all becomes very, very relevant as far as the COVID-19 vaccine is concerned.
Well, absolutely. But at the same time, Nancy, I want to again reiterate the fact that we should not be relaxed here. And that's what the Prime Minister said, that do gaz ki duri, mask hai zaruri. We still have to remind that. And even Prime Minister, in its last meeting with the Chief Ministers of the state, have said that even though we are working upon the vaccine and we are saying that the vaccine will come, but so far right now we don't have any vaccine at this point in time. And that's the reason, whichever available module that we have right now, or the medium that we have right now, we have to focus on it. We have to focus on social distancing norms also. At the same time, we have to wear masks and should not gather at one place. So these things we need to follow until and unless vaccine comes. Obviously, manufacturers are working day and night, and probably we may say that the vaccine may come by next year. But at the same time, even Prime Minister again repeating the same fact that by that time we don't get vaccines, we have to get controlled ourselves. We should not get relaxed, stating that probably vaccine will come and will be saved here. But till that time, we actually have to follow all these norms here. And obviously, when we talk about it, when we talk about getting these vaccines here in India, it will take some few months here, because as I told you, that so many technicalities involved when once, while distributing this vaccination is concerned. That is also very important aspect of getting vaccinated here. And why I'm saying is that because most of the research paper in the world and probably media reports also, and various publication houses have stated that once, even though any country will get the vaccine, the most important factor is that how to distribute that vaccine effectively. That is also remaining a big question here. We need weather conditions, we need temperature, so all these factors needs to be considered while distributing this vaccine. We should have the storage capacity also for this vaccination here, because this vaccination will reach to the last person, will reach the villages also.
Absolutely.
And while reaching that, we have to take care of all these facilities, and that's the reason when Prime Minister will be here, at the same time we may see that he will also be discussing it with the scientists also, that how they can help us while distributing this, and what is the things that need to be taken care of.
Right.
They will understand all these facts from the manufacturers also, and from the scientists also. And a very scientific way we can see that the vaccination drive India will conduct by next year.
Right, absolutely. Also, Shishir, have you heard anything from ZYDUS Kerala as far as phase 3 clinical trial is concerned? When is it going to be applying for that? And any word on more collaborations, because distributing the vaccine on a larger scale, that's going to be very important and in the larger interest of society.
Well, absolutely, Nancy. Well, at this point in time, there's no any time frame has been decided. What we've got to know is that by next year the vaccine will come. Probably the vaccine will come in the second quarter, probably third quarter, because when we're talking about clinical trials, the clinical trials may take their own time, because as I told.
Well, we seem to be having a bit of a problem there connecting with Shishir. We'll go back to him as soon as we can and get more updates as far as the Ahmedabad leg of Prime Minister Modi's visit, reviewing the vaccine development and manufacturing process is concerned. And let's tell you that after Ahmedabad, the Prime Minister Modi will visit the BIOTECH in. All right. In fact, we are getting more inputs as far as Prime Minister Modi's visit to Ahmedabad is concerned. He's in fact reached there in Ahmedabad, and he's in fact there at the facility. There at the facility there, the ZYDUS BIOTECH. He's there, and in fact, this is the Ahmedabad leg of Prime Minister Modi's visit today. Remember, he's visiting he's on a 3-city visit as far as personally reviewing the vaccine development and manufacturing process. He's visiting 3 cities today, and in fact, first reaching there at the ZYDUS BIOTECH Park in Ahmedabad. Those were the latest visuals that we were getting for you from Ahmedabad there, from the ZYDUS BIOTECH Park. We'll be getting more visuals and inputs from our correspondents there, but let's in fact also tell you what more is on agenda of Prime Minister Modi's visit today, the entire day. And after Ahmedabad, Prime Minister Modi will visit the Bharat Biotech in Hyderabad and the Serum Institute of India in Pune itself. And in another development, in fact, also the Russian Direct Investment Fund and Heathrow, one of India's leading generic pharmaceutical companies through its biologics arm, the Heathrow Biopharma, have agreed to produce in India over 100 million doses per year of the world's first registered vaccine against COVID-19. That's the Sputnik 5. Now, President Vladimir Putin had also announced a tie-up with India for the production of Sputnik 5 at the Riyadh G20 summit. So, important developments that are taking place as far as vaccine development is concerned, and important visit of Prime Minister Modi today, the 3 cities. He is in Ahmedabad. He's just in fact reached the ZYDUS BIOTECH Park there in Ahmedabad. He's going to be interacting with the scientists there, taking stock of all the preparations, the roadmap, and in fact very important, strategizing the distribution of the vaccine. That's going to be so very important, making the vaccine available to the last man standing really. And on a larger scale, Prime Minister Modi there in fact at the ZYDUS BIOTECH Park in Ahmedabad and reviewing the vaccine development and manufacturing process there. We'll keep getting more inputs on that, continuously closing, in fact, tracking all the developments on that front. But we are moving on now to some other news for the time being. And Prime Minister Modi spoke on the phone with the Prime Minister of the UK, Boris Johnson. The two leaders exchanged thoughts about the challenges posed by COVID-19 pandemic and reviewed the promising cooperation between India and the UK in the area of vaccine development and manufacturing. The leaders reiterated a shared desire to impart a quantum jump to the India-UK partnership in the post-COVID and the post-Brexit era. And they also agreed that there was tremendous potential for enhancing collaboration in trade and investment, scientific research, the mobility of the professionals and students, and defense and security. Both the leaders also laid particular emphasis on India and the UK joining hands in the fight against climate change and appreciated their collaboration under platforms like the International Solar Alliance and the Coalition for Disaster Resilient Infrastructure. The leaders also agreed that officials from both the sides would continue their work to quickly finalize an ambitious long-term roadmap for the India-UK partnership. And we are once again going back to a top story. Let's go across now to our correspondent Shishir. Once again, Prime Minister Modi there has reached the ZYDUS BIOTECH Park, the vaccine facility, a short while back. And in fact, it's an important, really important visit of Prime Minister Modi today. The three-city visit that he's going to be holding across the day today, beginning first with Ahmedabad and then, of course, Pune and Hyderabad in the remaining two legs really of his visit. Let's go across to Shishir. Shishir, just take us through the significance that we are seeing as far as, at the stage that we are at in terms of the vaccine development, the manufacturing process. Prime Minister Modi, they're personally reviewing, and visiting the vaccine facility and also, in fact, interacting with the scientists in some time from now. Shishir, can you hear me? Yeah, Shishir, yes, Shishir, please go ahead.
So as I was telling you, this is the first visit. Prime Minister has just entered the ZYDUS BIOTECH Park here, and he will be visiting the manufacturing center also where this vaccine is right now being prepared. The company officials will also accompany Prime Minister and will be briefed about what exactly, how the process is going on right now, how important this vaccine is, and how effective this vaccine is at the same time. Obviously, talking about this particular vaccine, where Prime Minister has just entered in ZYDUS Cadila is developing ZyCoV-D vaccine. They have started working on this vaccine early this year, probably in February of this year. They have started working on this vaccine. And right now, what we got to know is that it's a DNA prototype vaccine. ZYDUS Cadila is preparing that now in the country. This is the first of its kind of vaccines being prepared by the ZYDUS Cadila here. And what we also got to know is that they have actually entered into a phase 2 clinical trials, and probably the company has already claimed that by next year they are preparing this vaccine, and by next year the vaccine will come into the market. But obviously they have to go through first these clinical trials. These clinical trials results need to come positive, and then probably only we can see that the ZYDUS Cadila will introduce the vaccine in the market, and that's the reason clinical trials currently going on. They've also asked for the volunteers, those who want to being volunteered in this process, and they can come here between the age group of 18 to 55 across the country right now. The clinical trials of this vaccine is going on, and that's the reason when the company itself has said that probably the phase 1 trial was actually quite positive here, and they're looking for the same result in a clinical trials of phase 2 and phase 3. And after getting those desired results, then only the company will come officially and will introduce this into the market. At the same time, even our own scientists is also quite monitoring, keeping tab on these activities also, that how this vaccine is effective, because it's all talking with the scientists have been working day and night from all these manufacturing facilities are concerned, be it ZYDUS Cadila, or we are talking about the Serum Institute also, and Bharat BIOTECH also, the co-vaccine that we're talking about. So we have to check the effectiveness of each of these 3 vaccines. And now we are talking about these 3 vaccines, because these 3 vaccines are actually quite ahead in the race in India, probably to fight against COVID, and that's the reason we are focusing. There are other vaccines also coming into the market, but it may take some time. But at this point in time, as I'm talking to you, these 3 vaccines are actually at the advanced level, and that's the reason. If you look at the research paper also, and some of the scientists have also said that these vaccines at this point in time looking quite promising. But still, it's quite early stage to talk about it, because there are still few more clinical trials need to be conducted here, and probably then only the companies also and the scientists also will come to the conclusion that how effective this vaccine are. And when the Prime Minister is here, probably try to understand that exactly how these vaccines are being prepared. What are the important things involved in entire this vaccine manufacturing process is concerned. Most important fact is how effective this vaccine is.
Absolutely.
That is also need to be considered, and that's the reason Prime Minister is here right now. He will consider all these facts here. Once he'll get to know the details about this vaccine, then the work actually starts, the government work actually starts here, that how to distribute this vaccine here.
Absolutely.
Even for that process, Prime Minister will be having word with this vaccine manufacturer, because they'll try to get details that how we can store this vaccine, how we can distribute this vaccine, what are the process involved in it, the technicalities need to be taken care of. So all these factors will also be discussed with the vaccine manufacturers also and with the scientists also. So that's the reason we are just talking about producing a vaccine, but we need to also focus about that how to distribute this vaccine. Let me remind you of the polio vaccine that we've been talking about. Currently, India is a polio-free country here, but even for that also the government have taken a lot of efforts while distributing it, distribution of that particular vaccine.
Shishir, just request you to please continue being with us. In fact, let's play out these visuals that we got just a while back of Prime Minister Modi. They're reaching the ZYDUS Biotech Park in Ahmedabad. Well, these are the shots of him entering the vaccine facility there in Ahmedabad. He's in fact going to be also reviewing the vaccine development work in person, and the manufacturing center, like our correspondent also shared with us. He's going to be visiting the manufacturing center as well, and in some time from now also interacting with the scientists there at the ZYDUS Biotech Park in Ahmedabad. This is an important visit of Prime Minister Modi, beginning with Ahmedabad today. Of course, the Pune and the Hyderabad visit follows on later in the day, and these are going to be very important visits taken by Prime Minister Modi as far as India's fight and the world's fight against COVID-19 is concerned. Prime Minister Modi, they are leading from the front as far as vaccine development and manufacturing process is concerned, clearly taking stock of the preparations, the manufacturing, the distribution, the roadmap ahead. And two important concerns that remains, like Shishir was also mentioning, about the efficacy and then the distribution of these vaccines, which are of course at different stages of trial in the country as we speak. And in fact, our correspondent also was telling us about how really the ZYDUS Kerala will also be applying for phase 3 trials, of course, after the phase 1 and phase 2 are now over. Shishir, coming back to you, you mentioned about the very two important aspects as far as vaccine development is concerned, and that's of course the efficacy and the distribution. These two are very important aspects in developing a vaccine, for this global pandemic really, and India clearly leading from the front as far as vaccine development is concerned. And in that context, Shishir, Prime Minister Modi's visit there and of course his interaction with the scientists is going to be very significant, assumes huge significance, because that's clearly the way forward, checking its efficacy and then strategizing its distribution across the country.
Well, absolutely, Nancy. The scale of the vaccines which needs to be produced in the country, it needs to be huge scale here, because we are talking about 130 crore people from the country, and most of them, the vulnerable section, who actually at this point in time look quite exposed to the virus here, and those especially the frontline workers here. Now, when I'm talking about the modalities and technicalities, it's also involved that who will get this vaccine first. Whenever the vaccine comes, who will get it first? Even for that also, if you look at some of the research papers also, which are published also, and some of the international research papers also, journals also, they have said that some of the countries have taken a decision that those frontline workers will get this vaccine, at the very early stage. The frontline worker will get the vaccination, and then later on probably we'll see that the elderly people will get the vaccines, the women and the children will get the vaccines. That's what the other countries actually are thinking and deciding upon. Yet it's not decided yet completely. So these are different things that we need to be focused on, that how we have to distribute this vaccine, who are the first one to get the dose of the vaccine. But this is a quite early stage where I'm talking about.
We have to think about it once we get this vaccine here. And at this point in time, the more focus is that how we can make a safe vaccine here. Doesn't matter, even if it takes few more time, but the country need a safest vaccine here, and that's the reason these are different options that the country has got. We've got ZYDUS, Cadila, we've got Serum Institute, we've got Bharat BIOTECH also, and many others also. Among these we have to find out the best possible vaccine that can give the best cover from the virus here to everyone, especially the vulnerable section also. And once that's, it's been proven by the scientists also, been proven by the fact also, then the aspect comes of distributing it. Now, when the Prime Minister is visiting the manufacturing facility, we need to understand that how important it is for the country also, because even the world is also looking at us. We are also in the same race right now where the other developing countries, developed countries are actually working upon, be it Russia, be it US also, be it UK. These are also, the countries have actually started working on their vaccines here. Even now, India is also in that race. Probably we have seen here that we have so many options here. We have so many participants of the vaccines here. And by next year, we are also going to get a vaccine here, the indigenous vaccine. At the same time, when we're talking about our own countrymen, we also think about the people in the other countries also. Probably other countries may also ask for it. So how we can also supply the vaccines to them also, that's also a very crucial part. So these different angles that needs to be think upon at this point in time. First, but very important thing, to develop a safe vaccine, and the other aspect is that to distribute it properly across the length and breadth of the country to the vulnerable section also. So these are two aspects that probably Prime Minister must be thinking about, and that's a reason just few weeks back you must have seen here that Prime Minister had a meeting with the chief ministers of the different states here, where Prime Minister categorically said that at this point in time we have to continue with the procedure that we are following since last 4-5 months here. That is a social distancing norm that we have been following. We have to continue with that. At the same time, whichever things required to reduce this viral load from the country, from the cities, we have to work upon it with different ways here. Sometimes by imposing curfew also, sometimes telling people not to gather at one place here. So these are different needs, method that each and every state government, even the district government, even the local administration need to follow until and unless we get the vaccine here. The date is not fixed yet that when we'll get the vaccines. There are the claims from the companies that by next year it will come. But even for that, if the vaccine comes from by next year, we have to be prepared ourselves. We have to get ready for ourselves.
Absolutely. In fact, even as we are hearing inputs as far as when this vaccine will really be made available, Shishir, another important goal that would perhaps remain before the drug maker and of course also, would also be the objective of the government is to make this vaccine available to larger number of people, to the last man standing really. So in that sense, collaborations, exploring collaborations to make it available on a larger scale, that's also going to be very important. Is that also something that's going to be figuring out in the discussions today? Because distribution, apart from efficacy and efficiency, also remains a very important aspect of the vaccine availability.
Well, absolutely. I have to give an example here. When we've started this corona pandemic, actually was in its early stage, and especially at the early of this year of 2020, we've heard that some of the medicines actually were falling short here. They had a very huge demand in other foreign countries here. Later on, WHO said that these medicines doesn't actually cure corona, but it gives some breather here. So even that time also we've seen that there was a rush for these kind of medicines all across the world here. So this kind of rush we have to avoid here. Once the vaccine is ready, we should not immediately distribute it. We have to see first of all that who actually needed it, who is the first one to get this one. We have to make it categories, the vulnerable section, the frontline workers. These are the people who get the vaccine. So these things need to sit on the table along with the state governments also, because they are the one who will be carrying out this entire drive in the particular state, in the village, in the city level area. And that's the reason we should not rush to the, whenever we get the vaccine, we should not rush on it, we should not jump on it. But there should be a proper synchronized manner that we should distribute these vaccines all across the country. And that probably we may see that even for that scientists may help us in it. Even the vaccine manufacturers, the government, Prime Minister now will be talking to he's talking to the vaccine manufacturers also. They will try to take even their opinion also that what could be the possible way that we can distribute this vaccine among people. There are scientists also, the ICMR also have their own set of guidelines. They're also working on it, that how we can distribute it. So all these things, factors need to be considered while we are distributing it.
Absolutely. Shishir, just request you to please continue being with us. We're in fact waiting for more visuals to come in from Prime Minister Modi's visit there to the ZYDUS Biotech Park in Ahmedabad. The Prime Minister Modi is there at the ZYDUS Biotech Park in Ahmedabad, from where you're also reporting. Prime Minister Modi in fact is on the first leg of his 3-city visit today, and in fact he's reviewing the vaccine development and manufacturing process. Also will be interacting with the scientists there as far as the preparations, the challenges, the roadmap ahead, the efficacy, efficiency of the vaccine, its distribution. All those important aspects are going to be deliberated. Shishir, so in that context, clearly this visit is very important, and as we wait for those visuals there, in fact these are the visuals we are playing from some time back when Prime Minister Modi had arrived at the ZYDUS Biotech Park in Ahmedabad. He was there in fact some time back when he arrived inside. In fact these are the visuals from outside the vaccine facility. He's in fact inside right now as we speak, reviewing the vaccine development and the manufacturing process. And like Shishir, we've also been discussing how collaborations at this stage, how clearly checking, keeping a track of the efficiency, the efficacy, distribution. All these are going to be very important steps and aspects ahead as far as making these vaccine available. Well, these are the visuals from inside the vaccine. These are the visuals from inside the vaccine facility. He's meeting with the drug makers officials there, in fact holding meeting there with the company's officials and taking stock of the vaccine development at the ZYDUS Biotech Park in Ahmedabad. Those visuals from inside the vaccine facility. Prime Minister Modi there holding a meeting with the drug makers officials there at the vaccine facility. Important visit of Prime Minister Modi beginning with Ahmedabad, and of course after this he'll be visiting Pune and Hyderabad, the 3-city visit that Prime Minister Modi is holding today, taking stock of all the preparations and the progress that has been made by India as far as the COVID-19 vaccine development is concerned. These visuals once again for you from inside the vaccine facility. Prime Minister Modi there holding a meeting, taking stock with the drug makers officials there, with the company's officials there as far as vaccine development is concerned. And with that, it's a wrap on this newscast, but we'll continue, in fact, our coverage as far as Prime Minister Modi's visit to Ahmedabad, Pune and Hyderabad is concerned, and all the news and updates here on Doordarshan News and DD India. But for now, it's a wrap. Thanks for being with us.